Welcome back all my fashionistas and my aspiring pattern makers. Do you have a piece of garment in your collection that has a hole in it, or you might have a rip on it, or it could be a bed sheet that has a rip? But guess what? There is a technique called a darning technique. I'm going to show you how to use a darning technique to repair that hole or that slash that is in that garment. My mother taught me that technique way back in the 1980s when she was teaching me how to sew. I'm going to tell you a true story that happened to me. One day, while constructing an outfit, the scissors apparently caught the fabric, and because of that, it ended up creating a slash in that outfit. And mark it now, this outfit is under construction, it is not complete, and guess what? I didn't have any extra fabric where I could cut that panel to replace so that that garment can be completed without the slash. But hey, things happen. What am I going to do? I had no choice but to use the darning technique. So these are the things that happen in real life where you just simply have to think outside the box and say, hey, maybe I can apply the darning technique if I don't have enough fabric to recut that entire outfit or that entire panel that got damaged. So let's get right into the technique, and I'm going to show you how to repair a hole that is in a garment or to repair an L-shaped slash that is on a garment, or it could be simply on a bed sheet. Now this is the blouse that I have, and it has a hole here. As you can see it, that's the hole, and I now need to darn that so that I can wear my blouse with pride and not feel uncomfortable, because it is right at the front of the blouse and it's actually more like a little bit above the waistline area. So what I would suggest you do with that case, see these threads here, normally you sometimes might find some threads sticking up. So what I would do, I would take a pin and pull all of those threads to the back. So that's what I'm doing right now, because you're going to need those threads there to cover that hole, so it's not that obvious when you're doing the darning. After you've pulled all the thread to the wrong side of the garment, you are going to get a piece of fabric that is close to the color of that outfit that the hole is in, and here I have a piece of white. I'm going to place this swatch or this patch on the wrong side of the fabric, and I'm going to place it in a way because of the location of the hole where it overlaps the front part right there, and then you are going to pin this. You need at least the two opposite sides to be pinned, and not this side and this side to be pinned. No, you can't. You shouldn't just do that. Or if you have to pin these two sides, then you should put a third pin right here. A fourth pin is not really necessary, but if you decide to put a fourth pin, that is fine. You can also baste around this side right now if you're not comfortable just having the pins there, so you can baste around. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to take this now. If you notice here that it's almost like right in smack in the middle, so you have to be careful. You're not using a big piece of patch, so you have to be careful there. And what you do, you start from this end, very tiny because the hole is so tiny. What I usually do, try to go around the circumference of the hole because it's a hole, right? And not make that circumference too big. Make sure now that you do a circle around that hole. Anchor it down, do a circle around that hole. If you can't do a circle, you can do a square. And this is the reason why I always say to you guys, please take your time if you're using the industrial sewing machine, and you are going to slowly pull it so it goes like that, and you can lift it up to look at it, right? You can go back the opposite way to another couple where you're doing the back stitching there. And now you can actually, after you have anchored the needle inside the fabric, you can take out the pins. Oops, sorry. Take out the pins. Basically, with the darning technique is back stitching, come forward, back stitching, come forward, and you're doing a couple of those. Okay. Now, all I have to do is pull that thread to the other side. Pull the thread to the other side. Okay. Just pulling the thread to the other side. And then you can make 2 sets of knots on each of the ends of the threads. So that's one, and the other one you separate it and you do another 2 sets of knots or ties. Okay. What I'll suggest now is that you cut the extra thread that you don't need, right? Cut that, get rid of it. And also now you can actually make your patch a little bit smaller, so you can trim it down. It's up to you. I usually want to trim it down to make it not be so obvious. That's your preference. Okay, you can trim it down. Because this material is very lightweight and see-through, what I'll suggest for you to do also, if you notice, I did not stop right here when I was cutting the other piece of fabric underneath, because then you will have that showing, that space there, to make it look obvious that you have something going on there. Notice here what I do, I make sure that the patch underneath or the extra fabric underneath goes towards the edge of where the turn under for the button and buttonhole side is at the front of the garment. So this is what darning looks like. Alright, this is my blouse, and this it is. Voila, no more hole. Now I will feel comfortable when I'm wearing this outfit and don't have to keep on looking down or hide it. Yeah, so this is the darning technique of the hole. Now the other technique that I want to show you is when you have a slash, which is in the shape of a, I have this old sheet here, or old piece of fabric, and you have this slash here, all right, in shape, L shape, or however you look at it. So to darn this, you can go ahead, get a piece of fabric, put it underneath it, the same color, right, and you can pin it like this. So once you pin this, you can start out with a big piece of fabric, and then after you have donned the area, you can cut it down to a smaller piece, and then you take it to the machine and sew it. Another option, if you have embroidery hoop, and you can place it over the area, right? So you separate that, put this underneath, right, and then you would place this like this. So you put it over that, very careful. Now you open this. Okay, so make sure this is straight and you are able to place the cover of the hoop there, and don't forget to tighten the end. All right, tighten this part. And then what I must mention to you, because look at this, oh, this made it. So if it made it like this, you can do this, right, and put it over it, and then you can go ahead and stitch. But if you don't want to use the embroidery hoop, you can go ahead and do it without the embroidery hoop, and then you go along here. So this is using the embroidery hoop. Now I don't really like so much to use the embroidery hoop, but it's up to you. I just prefer that I get more leverage when I am simply doing it without the embroidery hoop. But I just wanted to show you options, because you know, options. not going to do it without the embroidered hoop because I just feel that by pinning it here, that is good enough. If you want, you can also baste it instead of just pinning it. It's up to you. Some people, they prefer just pin, have it done, and then move on. Some people want to have it basted, and that's your preference, okay? But if you're basting it, you're basting around, like do a square or a circle, not too close to the actual slash that you have there. Let's get right into darning this. What I usually do at times, I would start off first. One thing I must say to you, make sure that you have ample amount of thread extending towards the back, because you don't want to start and then the thread comes out of the needle. Then you have to stop and rethread the needle. What I suggest for you to do is do a row of stitch coming down the side of the slash. So do that. Be careful. And then you turn. Alright. Come down. I usually go to a point here and then turn it around. Come from that point because it's a little bit further from where it is, right? I now sew here, go a little bit past that, lift up the presser foot, and then you follow the other side. And as I said, you can come to an end or you can go straight across. Now if you decide to go straight across, make sure you are beyond the slash that you have. So now all you have to do is go rocking it back and forth, rocking it back and forth, rocking it back and forth. While you're doing that, you're pulling this way, because every time you go back and forth, it's a movement and you want to not go over the same thing. So you just make sure you go back and forth like that, and you do that. Now what you can do also for the other leg of the L or the L shape, you can now do this way, right? You can now pull it to this side. You just follow along and follow along and follow along. Okay, you lift it up, and you can even now do a reinforcement where you just come down straight to reinforce that. Then you can go over it again from this end. You can now take out the pin if you want, if you are going to pull on the fabric and you don't want the pin to stick you. So like this. And okay, I need to turn it to the other leg and finish off that. Okay, and this is it. You turn it over to the wrong side and you pull on that thread to get the other thread from the front to the back. And once you do that and it's to the back, it might not come through, because if you did over stitching on that, then you're not going to get the thread coming through, and that is a situation that happens all the time. Okay, so just be careful there. So you just simply knot your thread at the back and you cut off the excess. Now in terms of this thread right here, I'm having difficulty getting it through. You can either use the pin to help you to pull that thread through. All right. Okay, still not coming through, so apparently it's here on the front, it's not budging, so I'm just going to cut it like this. And things like this do happen at times. That's why it's always good to start out with backstitching. But we were doing the backstitching technique on this, and this is what it looks like. I no longer have that L shape slash to deal with. And as I stated before, you can also trim the excess fabric that you have here at the back. You can make it smaller. You can trim it or keep it at that desired size. I have just demonstrated to you how to do the darning technique and repair a hole or a slash that is in your outfit, or it could be on a fabric before you are actually making the outfit. But guess what? Be very careful, because sometimes wherever that hole is, it could be a spot that is going to be visible, and when that is the situation, I would suggest that you get a patch and you can iron on the patch or you can sew on the patch. I've also been in a situation where that happens, where the darning technique is going to be obvious on the outfit and I don't want it to be so pronounced. And so what I did, I used embroidered threads and I created an embroidered design on that area that covered the darn. So these are little things that you should look out for. I mean, I'm a veteran in this game. I've been sewing since 1980s, and so because of that, I know all these things do happens at times, and it has happened to me. So just be mindful of that. One time I remember it was a situation where I was ripping out the threads and the seam ripper created the hole, and so I had to darn it, but it was like under the arm. It was actually on the sleeve, and so because it was there, I was able to get away with doing the darning technique. But not all the time you'll be able to get away with that, so you have to be careful and think of how you're going to address it. Either you're going to use the embroidery technique over the darning area, or you're going to use a patch to cover it, or the third option is just let the darning show and create a little design around it so it's not that obvious, because fashion is really about your creativity and different aspects and different things. So it could be simply, you know what old people say, oh, spoil makes style. Yes, this is a prime example. If you are making something and you end up having to use a darning technique, and then hey, you just have a new style going on in your outfit. And guess what? Don't try it with a formal wear. Only with a casual wear, okay? So with that being said, I hope that this video has helped you tremendously and that you will share this video with others around the world. And if you have not yet subscribed, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and leave me a comment, alright? And hit that like button also. And thank you for watching, and see you soon on the other video to come. Bye now.